Because none of this really matters.
Really matters.
Because none of this.
Now we're good.
All right, guys.
Everything's rolling. Everything's rolling.
Take two.
The internet's still good. All right.
This is take two, guys. We had some technical difficulty. I think we had an internet shortage.
Internet shortage. Camera went out. The fucking shit
We
unplugged
gotta
here.
restart. But
I'm sweating profusely right
this is episode 59. If this is the first time you're listening to us, I'm sorry.
now.
Because this first 20 minutes is about to be a mess. I feel it. No, it's not. We're good.
Just re-say everything you said before.
What's going on, you guys? Episode 59, None of This Really Matters. My name is Nathan McGeorge. This is my sister, Amanda McGeorge. Shelton. Just Shelton. Sorry.
McGeorge Shelton.
She's not a hyphenate. Amanda Shelton, Rob Shelton on the ones and twos. And here we are. This is None of This Really Matters, a film podcast. My beautiful girlfriend is in the room, in the corner, to herself. And we're here to talk about Alex Garland, the author turned filmmaker. This is a way better intro than I did last time. But we're talking about Alex Garland, the author turned filmmaker. And we're going to review and discuss all of his work, all of his filmography, from Ex Machina to his upcoming film Men. And I'm very excited because I think I've been waiting to do this episode since we started, really. Alex Garland has been a person I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And the same thing like when I really wanted to do like Michael Bay and Denis Villeneuve and stuff like that. Like when we were finally able to do their films, I'm like, fuck yeah, we can finally do it. But yeah, we're going to be talking to Alex Garland. Starting off with Ex Machina because I watched Ex Machina and Annihilation. And you guys watched his series, his Hulu original.
We watched Devs and Annihilation.
Which I haven't seen Devs. But you guys, the way you guys were talking about it before, make me want to see it. We haven't even gotten into it, but already, if you're saying it's like up there with the like scale and stuff of Annihilation, that makes me excited.
I know stuff is good when it makes me say, "Oh shit, I'm dumb." Like when you start seeing like it's kind of like, I guess back in the day if you would have seen a movie about Mr. Scrooge, like, oh shit, there's people like that exist in real life. Like there's these super did I just say? Fucking Scrooge is based off of Rothschild and all those people. Those are like real.
Scrooge as in the Bill Murray?
Yeah, well, Scrooge like Scrooge McDuck or fucking Christmas Story. Like I'm saying, like it's like a character archetype or just like a story. You're like, there's no way there's a billionaire person. These movies like that. After seeing that stuff and then watching this movie, you're like, oh, I told him, man, I said there's a whole group of like Apple, Windows, Google engineers that operate like these movies. Like we see all of the like, oh, we run social media and blah blah blah. But there's some like 12 groups of kids. Yeah, there's some kid in the basement somewhere in a top secret bunker on the computer, just fucking just click, building the next thing that we're 15 years from now. We had no idea
building
there was being coding right.
Shit.
We had no idea they were coding that shit right now.
Yeah.
That's why I like all of his stuff. That's what I like. It's like, oh, I'm dumb. I don't know what's happening.
And that's what I love about Alex Garland movies is he doesn't even care about explaining, what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, you get it or you don't.
Yeah, he was like, this shit is either terrifying or you're confused. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't even bother about letting the audience or catching the audience up. He's just like, you either following the shit or you're not. And that's why I love it. And that's why it's a good comparison to like Interstellar, to where it's just like, it's constant explaining what's going on. And then you watch Annihilation and it's like, you either get this shit or you don't. Or I'm sure it's the same thing with Devs. I'm sure, and it is the same thing with Ex Machina, where it's just like, you're either like bored or you're fucking like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
In Devs, he's way more like dangling the carrot.
Yeah.
He never lets you can kind of like grab even the stuff that's happening. You still don't know what's going on, but the stuff that happened and shocks you. You're like, I don't know what they're creating, but it scares me because everybody's reaction on that show scares you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a one scene in Devs where the dude, this is like the very beginning of the show, Manda told me, actually, this is when I walked in, the dude was sitting at the computer, and she was like, here, just look at this code. And he was looking at it, and he was like, oh, shit. Oh. And then he, like, his face changes, and he's like, no. And then he goes and throws up. Whatever he just saw was so... He was like, his exact words were, this isn't just going to change... He's like, this is going to change everything. And then he says it, he's like, but no, when I say everything, he's like, this is going to change everything. And she said, it's not. That's kind of the point.
That's what's crazy about Alex Garland's films is that the shit he deals with is a big fucking deal.
Reality stuff.
Yeah, because the internet came back on. That's why I pointed at the computer.
No. Tangible stuff.
Realistic science fiction. That's like... Because let's start with Ex Machina. His first movie that he officially directed, because Judge Dredd, the remake that he wrote, Pete Travis directed it, but he wasn't like going along with like the creative, direction of it, and so they fired him in post-production, and then
they fired Alex Garland in post-production?
Pete Travis, the official director of Judge Dredd, but they fired him in post-production, and Alex Garland, Carl Urban was saying, like, Alex Garland basically
came and, like, saved the film.
Yeah, he basically directed it while filming and just did all the editing, basically.
So that other dude must have just been dicking around or something?
He was just kind of, like, going against...
He was like, oh, fuck it, it's just a Judge Dredd remake.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so, because there was, like, rumors of, like, that, like, Alex Garland basically directed, but Carl Urban was in an interview with somebody and was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like, Alex Garland was doing all the work. And
for people who don't, Carl Urban is the dude he's Scourge from Thor.
He was in Doom with The Rock.
He was the doctor in Star Trek.
He was.
He was not Scotty. Fuck, I can't think of Bones.
He's the guy who stabbed him with the Romulan. Yeah. He's like,
he's like, what the fuck? He's like, you're having an allergic. Yeah, that's his name is Bones, Dr. Bones.
And then The Boys.
Yeah, The Boys. That's who everybody would know him from.
Yeah, that's where he like popped.
Yeah.
But I first saw him in Doom with The Rock. That's like
my favorite scene.
But yeah, Ex Machina is his directorial debut. Menda just had a list up of all the awards it won. Best first feature film, best visual effects, which are amazing visual effects because of the robot that Alicia Vikander played, and amazing acting, of course. And it's also, you can really tell that it is his first movie, because if you look at the scale of Annihilation and Devs, but then you watch Ex Machina, you're like, this is very compact.
Very,
because it's like a 3-man cast, and it's very like a powerful story, but very simple and easy to follow because of Oscar Isaac's character Nathan, who's like I don't even know exactly what to call him. He's just like a smart scientist inventor, and he's developing this AI, and Caleb wins like this staff prize, basically, or staff contest. And
the CEO of the company that Caleb works for.
Yeah, Nathan is the CEO of a tech company that Caleb works for. Caleb gets picked for like the staff contest to go out, basically to visit his estate, and then goes to estate, does like this Turing test that where it's like, what the Turing test is, you see artificial intelligence, and then you have to like either like guess or find out if it's artificial intelligence or a human. But what Nathan's character does, or what Oscar Isaac's character Nathan does, is not hide that it's a robot. It's like, you just gotta have a conversation with it and see how you feel having a conversation.
And that test was like the one from Blade Runner,
like,
right?
Yeah, like from Blade Runner, where like the one from the original and the new one, and
Interlink.
And the way that it's set up, like I said, it's one location, and how like the guys basically like the architecture of the house that they're in is pretty fucking crazy, and it's really nice too. If you see the house, you're like, that's sweet. You're in the middle of the forest, but your house is like not super advanced, but just like very like mid-century modern, mid-century mod, and and you and like the what do you call it? I don't even know the name. Like just the conversation, I guess they were having, where Caleb was saying, you know, what you're doing isn't just the history of man, it's the history of gods, and then how Nathan was like, basically took that and ran with it, the idea of that compliment, and was just like, you remember when you called me, when you said to me, I'm not a man, I'm a god, and he's just like, it's crazy. Like, and you just, that's like in the beginning of the movie when that like interaction happens, and you're just like, this guy is pretty much off the rails.
Yeah.
And there's a part in the movie, like in the middle of the movie, where the power shuts down and the cameras turn off, and there's no like feedback going to his Nathan's office, and Caleb and Ava, the robot, are talking to each other, and Ava's like, you shouldn't trust Nathan, like he's bad, like you gotta get out of here. And then the power turns back on, and then Caleb's like, what the fuck? And then like literally they have dinner the next scene, and then Nathan's
the AI told him that Nathan's bad.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. When the AI saying this nigga crazy, bro, you gotta fucking.
And then Nathan was like, so during the power outage, what happened? And he was like, I didn't get any video, audio, so I need what did she say anything to you? Should you react to the power outage? And he was like, no, nothing. And you're like, oh fuck, like
Nathan knew already.
Yeah, so
he knows.
So it's like it's such an intense movie, and I recommend that movie to anybody who's a fan of sci-fi, really. And like I was saying to you guys, that when I was like 14 years old seeing that movie, that was like the first sci-fi movie I seen where it's like, oh, this is like a cautionary tale. Like this is like a warning, like we're only human. You know what I mean? And it's like some scary shit dealing with like almost like we don't know what we're getting ourselves into in a way, where it's, of course.
Knew it.
Pause.
Knew it.
And we're black.
Okay.
We need that like snippet of like Jimmy Fallon from SNL saying, and we're black, every time we have like a cut. Anyways, what were we saying? Ex Machina, cautionary tale. It was one of the first sci-fi movies I've ever seen where I was like, this is a cautionary tale. This is what sci-fi movies are almost meant to do.
Right.
Is to almost scare you.
Yeah.
Also, them like having feelings for each other.
Yeah.
I think that was like.
Yeah, you're like, this dude's in love with the robot.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it might be super close to being a human.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the movie, you're like, nope, just a fucking robot.
Yeah.
Bitch, I don't love you.
This thing doesn't give a, this robot doesn't give a shit about humans.
Nope.
So the Ex Machina, amazing movie, and it's almost perfect because of how small it is and how much it's able to say.
The budget was $15 million.
Yeah, not that much.
So
That's quite a bit, but not that much for
quite a bit for a
sci-fi.
Yeah.
For a sci-fi movie, not that much, but for a first movie, that's a lot of movie.
But when you hear that Napoleon Dynamite had a $400,000 budget, you're like, $15 million sounds.
Or when
like,
you look at the Paranormal Activity budget, it's like $15,000.
Yeah, you're like, what? But they did good with $15 million. Because people don't know, man. Those effects.
Those VFX.
When you hear those prices for those budgets for those movies, at least 40% of it is effects generation. Because those people are the computer that they use, the time that they're spending.
Yeah, how much space that is.
Reshoots, redos, re-fucking this, re-that.
And this last time me watching Ex Machina, what I noticed is that it is shot digitally, but it's almost like it's like grain added onto it, and it's shot in anamorphic lens, but it's almost like it's digital pretending to be film, as if like it's artificial intelligence, like you know what I mean? It's like a play on that.
I'm trying to fake like I'm film.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to fake like I'm human.
Yeah. So I noticed, I was like, huh, that's very an anamorphic, almost. Like, because we'll get into Annihilation, talking about, you know, the cinematic setup of it, but as far as Ex Machina, I can see it being shot, you know, spherical, like on regular prime lenses, but I think anamorphic is a little too wide for Ex Machina, considering how it's only one location. Like, you don't really need such a wide lens for that. But Annihilation, anamorphic is almost the only thing you can shoot it on, because that's a big movie. But what the anamorphic lens does, it almost like in Uncut Gems, it makes things look 3D.
Yeah,
you're like, these people are larger than life. And in Annihilation, that world they're in, the shimmer,
yeah,
the shimmer.
that is something else.
Yeah.
And that's, I think,
and I love how you never explained what the fuck it was. You can I guess gauged what it was from what they were saying. What it was like, it reversed. What did they say it did? It reverses DNA.
Yeah.
It combines. It's like it starts with an R. It retract. Fuck, I forgot the
retroactive.
No, fuck, I forgot. But I have the book right there.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier.
Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. It's based off a book. That it's. I'll talk about the book. Was written by Jeff Vandermeer, and he's from Florida, I want to say. And he woke up one morning and he had a dream and started writing the book. Like, because that's basically what this movie came from, or the book story, the plot of the book came from, is one of his dreams. And it's because he lives in Florida, and it was written during the time of the oil spill in the Gulf Coast. And that's basically what it was inspired by. Annihilation was the oil spill.
That makes sense.
And
that makes a lot of sense. Even just the coloring of the shimmer. It's just like, that's the color that oil is on top of it.
That's like the iridescent,
like a pearl.
Yeah, exactly. And
that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
And
how it can change the ecosystem and how that can destroy.
Exactly. And
refracts information.
Refracts it. That's exactly because of the
prism like distortion of the light.
That's why on Tessa Thompson's character, she started growing flowers on her arms and shit, because every single thing of like all the cells in every single organism were combining.
Yeah.
And that shit was crazy.
There's some that part of the movie I told Amanda, there's some like old like esoteric knowledge that humans would have come from plants, because they have RNA. It's just like more basic version of DNA.
I can let you read that book if you want.
I would, because they were saying they were like, if you took a human's nervous system and stood it up by itself, it looks like a tree. So that
I literally had a picture of all the nerves. It looks crazy. It looks scary.
That's what that picture, that picture here that I'm looking at, where there's like that person who turns into the wall. I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, this guy, fucking what's his name? He knows what he's doing.
Alex Garland.
Yeah, Alex Garland.
Yeah, he's on a different wavelength for sure.
They read that kind of like weird. The balance between nature and science and spirituality and
Annihilation is an amazing portrait of all of that.
All of it. People don't think there's any spiritual. I was like, that movie is.
That's exactly
spiritual.
What it is. It's about mental health. It's about self-destruction.
Yeah, these people are crazy, stabbing them. The fucking shit inside of the dude when it was swimming inside of him.
Oh my gosh, that was
like,
awful.
What is it? What was it? An eyeball or something that you ended up seeing when they cut him open?
They were like worms almost.
Yeah.
There was like his intestines like thickened, and they looked like worms just crawling inside of his stomach.
Ugh.
And that's why I say, like, this movie, there's like, not only existentially is it powerful, but like as far as like what the characters are going through, like like one's a recovering addict, and one is suicidal, and one has cancer, and one, like, you see like these people, and there's the conversations, the interactions these people have of just like, isn't, you know, self-destruction a natural part of life? Like, isn't deterioration what we're supposed to do? Like, aging is, people view aging as this natural process, but really it's just our body failing slowly. Like, that's what life is. And that's basically what Annihilation is saying, is that like we're not like going like this and then die. It's like, no, we're constantly going down,
deteriorating.
The minute you start, it's downhill from there.
And that's what I love about it.
It's how you want to look at it.
But that's what because they're all scientists. They're all in a way that's realists. You know what I mean?
None of them have that kind of. They're very like what I see is in front of me. That's why
it's all numbers, ones and zeros.
Because when they see stuff that they have no idea how to like explain it in our version of physical science, that's when I love those movies. It starts to fall apart. They're like, I don't understand what's happening.
Because she's a biologist, and that's how she views it.
She never
views life.
She never led on about who she was or like her attachments or nothing. She just kept it like I'm on the mission and that's it. Like, she never went into like personal shit.
Yeah.
But then they started getting fucked up.
And then you find out the leader, the doctor, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, amazing actress. And you find out like she has the reason why she's leading this mission, the reason why everybody I guess you find out, but you kind of guess what I guessed is that they all have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that's why people are like, is this a suicide mission? And they're like, no, it's more of just kind of like you're here, like
whatever happens. Yeah,
like,
it's
I'm just self-destruction thing. It's more of just like what you're getting yourself into. It's not a suicide mission, but you know what you're going through. Yeah. Like
it's the unknown.
There's a difference between suicide and self-destruction, is what this whole movie is basically saying to me. Where it's just like
that's very true. Suicide and I was self-destructive at one point. I wasn't suicidal. I was like, hey man.
That's a big message I got from this movie. That's why I love this movie. This movie's so powerful.
I don't want to die, but if I do, then fuck it. It ain't nothing special about dying.
This to me is up there with Arrival, with how powerful these sci-fi movies can be, especially like with Arrival and how language is a big part of it.
Language, that movie and that language thing was so like. When she talks to the general from China and you realize like how much, prime example, when we hear stuff that's happening in Russia and then we hear it here, nobody ever thinks about that. Our languages are just
completely
set
different.
Up, just the way that we even speak and how the inflection of our tone, everything is so different that they could be saying something that they think doesn't mean shit. And we're like, nah, these motherfuckers is trying to like poke a bear. You gotta imagine.
And that's even goes to like, if you want to see a smaller scale of that, is like from English to Spanish. Yeah. Like when you say like excuse me in Spanish, it sounds rude. You know what I mean? It sounds like you're saying move, get the fuck out of the way. But like really, you're just trying to say excuse me. Like in English, it's just excuse me. But in Spanish, it sounds like they would take it as like you're trying to say.
Or even in text messages, like it's your own personal
its tone,
narrative.
Its personality, its inflection.
You know, they talk about
your
that.
perception.
There's a science that they don't. Of course, nobody wants. Of course, when it comes to science, somebody's always going to say that's not true. But they're even starting to think, they're like, does language play a way in the way that people think? Just the way your language is set up, does your brain operate differently? Just how you view the world?
I'm sure.
I remember there was one time, one of the first times it's honestly a crazy feeling. The first time I read a sentence, and it was Fonzie posted, Fonzie Cuts, shout out. Fonzie posted something on Instagram that was in Spanish, and I read it. I remember talking to you about it. I read it. And it just made sense. And I was like, holy shit. Because I'm not bilingual. I know some Spanish, but I'm not fluent in Spanish or anything like, or any other language. Except I'm barely fluent in English. But reading something in Spanish and understanding it, and I was like, holy, that feels crazy. And
multiverse.
But even reading it and realizing, like, if I read this in English, it doesn't sound like anything. It sounds insane. The word, the structure of the sentence is probably the part that most people who are speaking English have a hard time like getting through. Is the words are the easy part, Gomer. You can figure out the words, but learning how to place them and then the conjugation of the word, changing them, that starts to get like. But I think I brought up the language changing how you operate. When I first moved here, I thought everybody was fucking rude. I was like, what the fuck, yo?
Yeah.
Like, why you keep like standing next to me? So like, why you keep just walking past me without saying excuse me? And then you kind of stay here while you're like, that's kind of how everybody is here. It's not rude if everyone does it. That's how I view life. I'm like, if it's everyone's how they act, then it's not fucking rude. That little lady's just gonna walk in front of you. She might step on your foot. Whatever, dude. She don't mean to do it. She ain't mean nothing by it.
Right.
But it's culturally, you're like, I'm in a Spanish-speaking area. The way they say stuff to me, be like offhand. Like the use of bitch here is so free. You call any nigga a bitch back in Maryland, you're fighting instantaneously. Right. That is not nothing we play. I even had to figure it out here. I'm like, why do these niggas keep calling me a bitch? Like, who the fuck are you talking to, bro? Like. But I had to realize, I'm like, oh, it's just like, it's not like that. It is like homie or dude or like, shut up, bitch. Like, shut up, dude. Like, it's not meant like that. It's just a difference in, because cussing in Spanish is, so that dude who lives behind us, I don't know a lot of Spanish, but I know every 4 words he's cussing. I'm like, this dude is fucking pinche this and pinche that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I like the arrival thing. Because it kind of points out, like, maybe people just think differently because... Right. Like how we say in Chinese, like, there's no room for... There are a lot of languages, there's no room for misinterpretation because they said exactly what the hell it was meant to say. There's no other word for it. It's not like English where we have 15 words to describe the same thing. Yeah. Like, no. This shit means this. There's no other way you can interpret that. And we're like, no, but I want to interpret it. They're like, no, that's...
Yeah, English is a fucked up language.
It's way too.
And especially how
from one side of the country to the other, and we probably won't understand each other. If we go to and fucking you talk to a real, I'm not like an actual DC nigga. You talk to like my cousin, you won't understand what he's saying versus a nigga from LA. Like him and Larry June talk to each other. I would never know what was going on because they speak their own like language. Yeah, every single thing. E40, I don't fucking know what you're saying, dude. But there's a whole group of people who probably speak like him. Yeah, that's the beauty of English. But it's also like that's why we fucking keep fighting each other.
Yeah, because like in Arrival, and when the heptapod said offer weapon. When everybody's like, whoa, weapon, and she's like, whoa, what if he meant tool?
Because she said, what did she say? A hammer is the same as a weapon.
Yeah, it could be used as a weapon, but also used as a tool. And so
that part of the movie, I was like, that's language right there. And how you know that they don't. And it was also very American to me. I was like, the first thing Americans think is like, all right, weapon, we're ready to scrap. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to blow us up. That's what they're trying to say. And I'm like, and they don't. How long did they take to figure out that language in that movie? Like 2 years?
Yeah, a while.
They never.
But eventually, once they learned the language, time wasn't a thing.
It didn't matter anymore.
Spoiler alert.
It didn't matter anymore. But that also plays into Interstellar, where they're like, those aliens might have actually time travel in the sense of like they're just coming from far away in space. They might whatever they know is happening.
Yeah, because what the aliens' language did. Where they were symbols, so once you see the symbol, that's an entire sentence. Like there's no linear like reading. Once you see a symbol, that's an entire paragraph.
You break it down like that.
Like boom, boom. That's an entire. Okay, I get it. You just look at it and you get an entire fucking page of fucking writing. And then that's what ended up once she learned the language. That's why she had the conversation with Jeremy Renner's character saying like, do you ever like feel yourself dreaming in that language? And then eventually like time started messing up. That's why you kind of don't know really like how long they were, how long they were doing all that for. And then by the end of the movie, you find out, it's the whole movie is all one thing.
One circle.
And you don't like the beginning of the movie is also the end of the movie. It's just one big thing, one big symbol. It's not like one linear movie.
And then you rewatch it and you're like, all of this makes sense.
And you're like, everything makes sense. And you just see it as for what it is. And that's why Denis Villeneuve that's why that's still his best movie. Yeah. I'm going to say it.
That's why I like that movie. But I was telling Amanda that speaking of language, like when you read Chinese calligraphy, you're like, I was like, when we see that is they're saying a whole sentence in that
or a person's name or something like that.
I remember my geometry teacher told me about Chinese characters and how the word, it's something like the word mother looks like, it's like the way it's written in the Chinese character it looks like a mother like carrying a baby or something like that. I want to say it's the word mother. Or
that makes because that's they're since they're the oldest, some of the oldest people, their language would have been based off of like Egyptian hieroglyphs, hieroglyphics, and
then I remember Faustino was telling me a while ago, he was just like, eventually we're gonna turn back into that because of emojis. How people are gonna have pure conversations by just sending each other emojis back and forth. That's a possible thing. Like if that were to keep being delving into, then
that's because I don't need to see J-A-J-A-J-A-J-A because I didn't know what the fuck that meant. I was like, why did you keep ja? And then you're like, oh, you speak Spanish. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
But now everybody knows what the fuck a laughing emoji is.
Yeah.
I know how hard you're laughing. If you give me the crying, you're like, oh,
or
this
the
dude's
skull.
cracking up.
Or
if it's the skull, that shit was too much, dude. That's a beautiful. I think that might be true. That might be the future.
Yeah.
You can talk to somebody. Hey, I'm trying to get
from
to
a
this
different
place.
language too.
I could probably go to Japan and be like, I'm just trying to find like a hospital. You
And
type
another
in hospital
thing,
emoji.
Music is also another one. Communication, and that's how jazz was invented. Was a bunch of people who didn't know how to speak the same language, but they were all talking to each other through instruments. And that's literally, they were all in the same bar, and they were like, let's all do our own thing, and they just saxophone, trumpet.
Because you got French, Spanish, fucking British, this guy, that guy.
And they were all just like, okay, boom. And then that's literally
Creole,
that's how jazz was invented. Shout out La La Land.
Now, these movies that Alex Garland and Denis Villeneuve, these guys who take these, I guess you could say philosophical on some level.
Very much, yeah.
These movies that's why I don't like people like, I didn't like that movie. I'm like, oh, you didn't watch it. You didn't watch it for the right reasons. You saw Annihilation and was like, ooh, cool colors and a shiny guy. You guys are about to fight some robot thing that looked like Terminator.
Absolutely not.
And that didn't,
or aliens or something.
Close to happen.
It was literally all just happening to them. That's what it was. There was no. It was in a way anticlimactic, but because she was literally. Like that last scene was herself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh shit! Like that was a beautiful ending. And also the last 15 minutes of it. Everybody says this, but
someone said, the last 15 minutes of the movie are scarier than anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
Exactly.
Because you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
I did see a review where it says how it feels to chew 5 gum.
It does have that. But when you think she's about to meet like the mothership or like the mother, like you're like, oh, this is where we figure out why they're here at least, and you still don't find out why they're there. That thing just shows up and it just looks at her. It's just in her face and shit.
And she says, when the people in the hazmat suits, Wong is asking Natalie Portman character, what did it want? And she's like, it didn't want anything. You know what I mean? And just like people's assumption that like people who come here want something.
Those things.
It's like, what the fuck do we have to offer?
These concepts of those movies make you think about just human concepts like love, like a computer. That's why computers can't. That's why dating apps will never really work. Yeah. You can't.
Because all of a sudden, your personality doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah. That's why that episode of Rick and Morty, it was making fun of dating apps. Because it basically showed it was like, all right, we're married now. I love you. 10 minutes later, she's in a relationship with somebody else. Then 10 minutes later, she's in a relationship with somebody else. And that was like, the point of the thing was like, there's no way an algorithm can tell you what love is. Because it's so unquantifiable. Or compatibility. Yeah. Compatibility, I think, can be...
Like algorithmic?
Yeah, that can. If you say this person has a master's, this person has a master's, if they make this much money, then this outcome more than likely will happen because your income is this, blah, blah, blah. Do we know if they're going to make the marriage? I have no... What if this dude just be like, I don't fucking feel like making money no more. I'm sick of this shit. Right. The marriage is not the same anymore.
Yeah, that's not on paper.
You can't see that his mom dies and he's like, I have no purpose in life anymore.
Yeah, and then she's like a psychopath.
You can't algorithmically... That brings us up to Devs. That was his point. You can't algorithm human thought.
Let's move past Annihilation. Tell me about Devs.
Yeah. That's why I was like, that's a perfect segue. Because, babe, you go ahead, because I came in like halfway through the first Well, not even half.
No, I mean you saw everything. It doesn't give you even you get introduced to these people. You don't know who they are. You're just like, okay, they're going to this thing.
What's it about? Is that a loaded question?
It is because they're Apple. Because what's the name of the program? And I told you I was like they probably made that up. It was basically like Apple.
It's
Microsoft,
a name, yeah.
Apple, Microsoft, Amazon,
It's not Annabelle.
Yahoo, Amaya.
Yeah.
Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Yahoo, and then Alphabet Corporation. I was like, that's probably what they're.
That's what I told him. I was like, it reminds me of Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like Umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this big corporation. You're like, y'all are smart.
Amaya.
But we don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, we don't. Whatever they're building down there, whatever their programming is, that's why the dude threw up. He was like, whatever you just made is going to change everything. What Nick Offerman, now this is what I'm understanding. There's a scene where, on iRobot, when they're in the big cube, the face shows up.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like a projector screen of like code floating around, like this weird, you just see like specs and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, it looks like any sci-fi movie where they have a quantum computer.
Yeah.
The screen doesn't show you like this. It's some weird particles that's floating around. But then they're like, look, it's happening. And you're like, what the like what? And then you just see Jesus on the screen. It forms this like Jesus
On the cross.
It's literally Jesus on the cross, like looking up, looking around. And they're just staring at it and they're like, we did it. What my assumption is, because I had to, once I started watching these shows and they say a word, I'm like, I have to figure out what y'all like trying to get at. So what they're dealing in is what they call quantum computing. It's a step above, like, it's like zeros and ones mixed with philosophy. It's what essentially dating apps are. That's like quantum computing. Like, it's these algorithms that are taking all of these
so much information,
and you're like making these split-second decisions, blah blah blah. So they're in like the most powerful quantum computer.
You want to flip that screen just to see where I can't see the number from here.
Oh, we got like 4. Yeah. I'm gonna keep it like that.
All right. Sorry, keep going. The quantum computing with Tinder and shit like that.
Yeah, because quantum computing is, imagine. My boy Jew, there was a project they did at Andrews Air Force Base. They took 500 PS4s and they hooked them all together and made one big computer. You know
what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, like, this was years ago, but that's crazy that you just said that, because you remember when they did it with like 2 artists, Travis Scott and Nirvana, where they get like combined every Travis Scott song and made like an AI Travis Scott song. Yeah, and it's like
slapped.
And it sounds like a Travis Scott. Like, how is this not a real Travis Scott song? But it doesn't exist. But like basically, like they put it in this system to where it combined like every Nirvana song. And then it played it, and then you're like, holy like this might be. It sounds like a typical.
It sounds
Nirvana
like Kurt
song.
Cobain made a brand new song, and it creeped people the fuck out.
Yeah,
they're like, Kurt Cobain's been dead for 30 years now. Just about
almost 30 years.
Yeah, and they're like,
damn,
this sounds like and it was so creepy because they're like, the content of it sounds current. It doesn't sound like
the
Nirvana,
quality of it.
It doesn't sound like Nirvana wrote this song in 1994 or whatever. It's like they wrote it in 2019.
It's a weird feeling because you hear it and you're like, this sounds brand new.
It's
but it's literally impossible for it to be brand new because obviously Kurt Cobain's that band doesn't exist anymore. But you're like, it's very like unsettling to hear it.
All the notes are made up. Everything is made up.
It's pretty crazy, like that shit's real as far as music, but like that's very similar.
But I think that's why I like shows like Devs too, because he says it. He keeps trying to show you this duality of life, how everything is always way more simple and way more complicated at the same time than anybody else ever wants to say. We can make computers as it complicated and think computer engineering is hard all we want. At the end of the day, it's just zeros and ones.
Exactly.
If you figure that out, you can figure out how to build something like
Just
a MacBook.
Which also relates to Annihilation.
Yes.
Because of like what's going on and like human emotion. But then when you have biologists and like neurologists and stuff like that go into things like this, you're like, oh, like this is zeros and ones.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I
They,
mean?
and they all look at their zeros and ones different.
Yeah.
Because I think academia now probably has a problem with it, and I like cross-disciplinary people. Like people like Neil deGrasse Tyson is a great physicist, but how much does he know about like philosophy? I don't know how much he knows. Can he use both to teach somebody something about the way reality is? That's what Devs is about. Devs is essentially saying we figured out I think what they're trying to get out is that they figured out the code, like the legitimate zeros and ones to reality. That's why when he said we're about to change everything, and he was like, no, I'm serious. You're about to literally change.
Yeah, there's
everything.
a physicist, a geomorphologist, and a paramedic and a biologist and a psychologist all go into the shimmer.
But that's what quantum and
Annihilation.
That's why I like quantum computing, because you look up the definition of it, they're like, it's information science plus all of that stuff. Because I'm trying to say it in words, and I think it's more like complicated to say that we can't understand in the next 100 years what's going to be technologically available to our children or our grandchildren.
And that's why on the show,
what would be fire
it's
right now?
unfathomable. Like they're going to have like those machines where they're like, oh, this person has got cured of cancer.
You know
from
what?
This machine. That's going to be a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's what she was trying to. The psychologist was trying to do, because she had cancer. She's like, that's why I'm going on this mission. I have nothing to. I'm gonna die. I have no family, no friends, no baby, no husband. I have cancer.
My life has been and there's scientists like that. There's people those people who work at CERN who do the particle accelerator, these 40, 50-year-old people who are like, I've been working that in Interstellar. That's a real, people work their entire lives on one equation.
right?
One equation, your entire life. There's an equation called Fermat's equation that was unsolvable for 200 years. And the dudes took him 5 years to solve it. 5 years to solve an equation.
And Alex Garland, his
Is that one good?
Grandparents, were Nobel Prize winning biologists.
That makes sense.
Damn, that makes
That
sense.
makes sense. So he just hears this.
You know what I was just thinking while you were talking? I was like, because obviously I've listened to Alex Garland interviews before, which is not a lot, but when people talk to him, they talk about movies and shit like that. But like, if he were to be on this show, I would love to have a conversation with him about this shit we're talking about right now.
Like, what do you
think
know?
about this?
Yeah.
Like, what's your perspective? What's like, why did you choose to make Annihilation? Why did you choose to write Ex Machina like out of thin air?
Devs is.
I gotta watch it.
Essentially, because I think so. This is what I think happens is that they figured out the code to the universe. They mention the universe a lot, and you talk to a physicist, they made the universe seem way less cool. They're actually the opposite. They're like, the universe is unforgiving. It does not care. It doesn't know who you are. That's why the dinosaurs died. That's why we'll probably get wiped out again by an asteroid, because the universe.
Or we're just gonna kill ourselves.
It doesn't have a feeling. The universe doesn't do anything. But if we figured out how to manipulate reality with the actual code, what would that do to?
Yeah, dude, I gotta watch
he's
this.
Obsessed. It's something about his daughter.
Yeah,
something happened with his daughter, and they keep showing. But the Jesus thing, I think I told him, man, I was like, what we're seeing is them literally looking into the past.
Right. And that's what she says too, like in the show. She said you can only look back, you can't look forward, like into the future. We can only watch what happened.
Because the computer.
Is Oscar Isaac in Devs?
I don't know. Maybe not yet. I don't think he shows.
Because he was in Annihilation and Ex Machina.
Right. He might show up with a guest appearance. But he never in that show. What was I saying?
Jesus.
They were able to look in the past. They were basically looking in the past.
Because that's what they were saying. Like with the problem that they're having now, they're like, we can't program consciousness. That's the problem that they're trying to figure out. Because even scientists are
can't predict an organism's
the human's brain. They said a living things is too many variables. We can go so many different. As a human being, you can go so many different ways. A computer can't possibly. They said you would need a computer the size of the galaxy to do what you're trying to do. And he was like, "Oh no, we're going to do it though." There's like, there's no way you can fit that amount of data inside of the computer because you're trying to program consciousness, and it's impossible to.
And that's why people are barely succeeding at artificial intelligence
because we don't even understand why we have consciousness.
And that's the scary part about that's like Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Like if you even want to find that out.
If you figure out why consciousness exists, then what would be the point of having it?
Mm-hmm.
That's
what keeps it going is the unanswered.
And it's crazy because Alex Garland,
that's so crazy.
His grandfather, one of his theories was for senescence, like aging and
senescence,
immunology.
Like senile. What's that from?
Freaky Friday.
Yep.
So he originally won the Nobel Prize for like grafting with like organ transplants and like how the tissue was able to like survive and things like that.
Dang! Shout out to him. What's his name?
His name is
scientist
Peter Medawar.
People,
I gotta research him.
Brazilian British biologist.
Yeah, he is British. Alex Garland talks just like what's his name? From Rolling Stones, the guy, main guy, Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger.
That talks just like him. It's hilarious.
They fucking.
That's
one of those rich. That's why I tell people like these pharmaceutical companies. People are like, oh, they're evil. They're evil. I'm like, they're not evil. They're scientists. They don't give a shit. We're trying to figure out something. If I have to kill 200,000 people, because that's the history of most medical stuff that we have now. Is somebody was fucked up. From the what was the first hysterectomy was on a black slave, no anesthesia. She was awake the entire time. But it's also like that's fucked up. But that woman saved millions of people.
Yeah, and so
because
and
now
growing.
Hysterectomy is like same day procedure sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be
outpatient
in and
surgery.
out. Stuff that used to be major are now outpatient. So imagine the stuff that's major now.
Or like simple shit like CPR. You know what I mean?
That used to be like, oh wow, CPR.
Like oh, you're fucking dead. Like you're dying.
Like the Prestige.
Yeah, Prestige.
When the girl drowned, like she's fucked. She's dead.
We don't know what to do.
They were just like, oh, you're dead. Sorry.
They were just standing there, and you're like, because at first I was like, why aren't they doing
I was like, why aren't they? They don't fucking know.
They don't know what that shit is.
Back then.
Or washing their hands to be like, in somebody's body.
Washing your hands. Just the simplest things that we have learned.
But even not that long ago, like less than 100 years ago, people are like, smoking cigarettes, good for you. That shit makes you look cool. But then they're in the like 60s or 70s, they're like, let's cut that shit out.
Science is, that's why I love science. Because there is no...
We don't know. That's far.
What's the answer?
It's of what we know at the moment. That's all science is.
Yeah.
Even physicists say that. They're like, yeah, we could be wrong about all of this shit. They're like, we're only showing you what we can observe. We don't know about the other 90% of it.
There's this podcast I listen to where they do an ad. He jokes, but he's like, they do an ad read for like Lucy's. It's like the tobacco like lozenges and shit like that, or a patch. And he was just like, nicotine is an addictive chemical or whatever. And then at the end, he's like, from what we know. And then, but I just think that's exactly what science is. He's like, from what we know now from our scientific research.
People think everybody was being mean. It wasn't always, they weren't thinking about that. I'm trying to figure this problem out. It's unfortunate. That's why that movie, with Charlize Theron when she's the immortal warrior.
Charlize Theron.
Well, anyway, there's a movie where there's four of them. They're like the immortal warriors. And she's like, they call her, she's a Scythian. She's from like 4,000 years ago, like Persia or something like that. Damn. But two of them, basically the world knows about them. They're like, but we thought you were a myth. So then the scientists, of course, you know, the average, like there's some rich dude who's like, no, this myth is real. And they go and find her and they take out a biopsy of her lung. And she's like, they're like, please don't do this. Like, and she's like, if you're trying to appeal to my better human nature, it's not going to work.
You know what another great movie would be to review? This is completely out of the subject, but not completely, but Prometheus is another big
that's along the same lines for sure.
Well, of how, like, important this shit, even the story of the actual Prometheus, the actual mythology of it is very much in tune of science now, of like introducing fire to human and how
the old guard.
The old guard, that's what it's called. But yeah, they're like,
and just like the Oppenheimer book I have, the American Prometheus, that and what he knew, that's why that fucking book is so good. What he knew he was doing, and what he knew he created.
Prime example of science. He doesn't. I just want to see if it works. I want to see if this shit I've been working on for 30 fucking years
and then
can do it.
And then it worked. Like he didn't know if it was going. Like he didn't think it would, and he made it, and he was like, "Fuck."
Battery just died.
All right, sorry. Where are we at?
At 53.
They're fine. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But this is a good fucking episode.
We did a Patreon too.
Yeah, so go check that out, please. I will say it's a great fucking Patreon episode. It's great. If you watch the new Doctor Strange, go listen to the Patreon. We go super in deep about the MCU and the future of it, the past of it, and this Doctor Strange. Go listen to it, please. Patreon.com/none of this really matters. $3 a month. You're good.
Trace.
Anyways, and then $3 a month, that might help us get a fucking better camera. So
yeah.
Please.
Actual camcorder.
Please go $3 a month. Anyways.
And I'm actually going to post it. I'm going to finish those videos. I promise, guys. Sorry.
And
by myself.
What's it called? What were we saying? American Prometheus. He saw it work, and he's like, God damn it. I fucking ruined the world.
I think those people get a spirit in that moment. I think the entire time you're telling yourself, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and then you see that you just killed 600,000 people.
Yep.
Like, we've never killed, none of us here have ever killed a person. I've known people who've killed people, and they're completely different.
Yep.
They're not the same person anymore.
Yeah, there's some people who have killed somebody, and I've heard it feels amazing. Not gonna...
Maybe depends on if it's some gang shit that's different. I'm talking about like military people.
No, as far as feels amazing, it's pretty crazy. But like, if there's a feeling to it,
there's something to it. You're right. It taps into
taking life.
It taps into like
there's
you're talking about 300,000 years ago.
Right.
Your ancestors.
That's primal.
That's the primal shit. It's like giving birth. You're on a whole nother wavelength.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I told my boy that when I told him he was, just talking military stuff. I was like, you hit a point in humanity that you think isn't a part of humanity, but it very much so is. Survival of the fittest. It was either you or him.
There was this thing, I joked about it, but it's very real. It was during the pandemic. Me and my brother, we watched Survivor Series, and there was people in the show where this guy, he's from like out the country, he's from Alabama, this whatever, and there was another guy in the group where he's like from LA or some shit, and there was these like 3 girls in the group. And then for their prize that they won the competition, they get a live chicken as their prize. But like there's like a downside to where like you have to kill it, you have to pluck the feathers, you gotta grill it, skin it, whatever. And the Alabama dude knew how to do it. And he wrung the neck, plucked all the feathers, cooked it, whatever. And immediately after, I was like, all those girls are wet right now.
Wet.
Like,
you tapped into something
like
primal.
A man provided for everybody, and therefore the woman is attracted to him.
It's survival.
And then in the show, they're like impressed as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a scale. There's a certain scale to where they are attracted to him.
Yeah, they're like, fuck that guy. I'm with him over
I'm with
here.
this
part
dude.
of you that knows if it, because at the end of the day, that's what like if it went down, we can love all the. If this shit just stopped,
air conditioning.
If everything just stopped, That's all
I just
we
thought of
care
Always
about.
Sunny.
Right. You would
Air
immediately be
conditioning.
like, you're at home cooking. You go out and find and
You go
kill the
hunt.
food.
And
right.
make sure you're safe and come back. Be careful because they're killing niggas out
Right.
there.
Yeah.
We see it happen when there's power outages in cities now.
We see it happen when there's a pandemic happening.
Yeah.
You can see the base human in everybody come out.
Yeah.
Your programming showed up in the pandemic.
Exactly.
Period, point blank.
Toilet paper, gone.
Gone. When we thought it was happening again, and then people started going to get gas in plastic bags, I was like, now we're gonna die. This is when we're gonna die because this is remember the gas scares of the pandemic, like just run into the pumps.
When gas was like $2, $1.50.
Oh boy,
that was crazy.
Dude, the Russian war. No, you niggas trying to make that money back from the pandemic. You lying sons of bitches. We know what you.
They were talking
do.
about that.
The 57 minutes.
Huh?
We on 57 minutes. Well, I thought we was about to start getting into the camera's dead and stuff like that. I feel like we were going off topic.
We're good, right?
Yeah. We about to get into pandemic talk. That's
Oh yeah. That was good catch. Good catch. Fuck.
That's very Brendan Schaub of us.
Oh,
Sorry.
Babe. Oh my god.
if there was a camera,
He can definitely beat me in a fight, but I don't care.
I don't give a fuck. He's not
I don't give a
bulletproof.
shit. That's what
Right.
that nigga can get pulled up on. Keep fucking with Bobby, dog. Stop playing with me.
Yeah, I would definitely
Right,
ride
that's
for
my
Bobby
mans.
over Brendan.
Hey, yo.
I posted on the since we're talking, where I just want to touch on this. I posted on the None This Really Matters a couple days ago, and oh fuck, it's not there. Let me see if it's in the archives. I posted on the story of None of This Really Matters, asking questions like, hey, ask us anything. Your fucking post could be mentioned, or your question could be mentioned on the podcast episode. And someone said, since we're talking about lessons in a movie such as sci-fi movies, I guess I'll say her name since we just said her name. I'm pretty sure earlier in the podcast, Alex. She asked what's one of your favorite lessons in a movie or a movie has taught you?
Ooh, I learned most of my lessons from movies.
Right.
So that's a hard one.
Like Paid in Full.
Uh,
I would say Paid in Full is the biggest, like first thing that came to my mind.
that's a good one, but I can't say that was.
But like that's literally, that lifestyle has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's the
but
part.
it is
it's a great story just for life in general. Like, watch who you fucking around. It don't matter if you're in a drug game or not. That's corporate life too. People are cutthroat in the corporate world.
I would definitely say Paid in Full. To answer the question, Paid in Full is one of them. With Mikhail Pfeiffer and Ace Boogie. I don't know his name in real life. We looked up his name.
Wood Harris,
aka Ace Boogie. He's known as Ace Boogie. He
knows that.
That's all I call him.
He loves it.
Hey,
He's
yo,
like,
Ace.
I know. Yeah, he's like, I know, man. I
Yeah,
love it.
Ace Boogie's the man. That movie's real shit. I remember seeing that when I was like 12.
Yeah.
You and my brother put it on, and I was like, God damn, that.
You gotta watch the documentary on the real story
with Cameron.
You gotta watch the real Alpo AZ documentary because it's Paid in Full, but 10 times worse. It's worse than Paid in Full. You're like, God damn, this is a real story. I'm trying to think of a movie that has taught me a big lesson.
Soul is a big one. That's the reason why I have that pop right there.
Soul is a big one
because Soul with that what's his name? Fucking on the Chappelle Show. Donnell Rawlings.
Yes.
Donnell Rawlings' character in Soul, the barber. His monologue that he had
pivotal
changed everything for me.
Such a barbershop moment too.
Right.
Where you get some bars in there. That's why I love going to the proper cut for Fonzie cuts. And you really talk about you either talk about some dumb shit or you talk sports or you talk women or you talk whatever. But there's some times where it's like you're really talking some real shit. And Donnell Rawlings saying he's saying I wanted to be a veterinarian, but then I had a daughter and then I had to find some way to get money. I knew how to cut hair, so I started cutting hair. And then Jamie Foxx, Joe Gardner, was like, "You must be, depressed. Like you must be sad about all that." And he was like, "No, I'm not sad. I'm happy as fuck. It's just like no matter what, I make sure to to keep that positivity going.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, just because I'm not doing what I want doesn't mean I'm sad. You know what I mean? That's Soul is such a good fucking movie. I haven't seen it in a minute, but that I do remember that monologue very vividly.
Oh yeah, that movie hit me like Mr. Music over here. I was like, that movie is just, you might as well just stab me in the heart.
Yeah, and then also the fucking theme of the movie, like the existential. That's a very dark movie. Like, I don't really see it as a kid's movie because that really touches on some grown shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, Soul, definitely a really good lesson you can learn from there.
Yeah.
And
I think I would only say The Wave. I've talked about that movie a lot.
I think you said that a couple days ago or a couple
also,
episodes ago.
Also, it was what's the other one with the tree?
The Fountain.
Yeah.
The Fountain was more.
That's the Aronofsky film. That
made me. I have a thing with death just because my dad and stuff like that. So that movie was different. That was like a phobia relief. But The Wave was more of like a what you put out into the world will literally always come back to you. Even maybe in the next life.
Yeah.
Because
that's exactly.
Because you just never know what you do in this life. In that movie, he signed that paper, and his company was so happy that he denied that claim for the firefighter who had cancer. He was like a 9/11 firefighter, and they denied his life insurance claim. So his family was about to be homeless, and it was crazy. And he was like, "This was a win for me," but the entire movie, he just felt like shit. He was getting his ass whooped mentally the whole movie and spiritually.
Yeah.
Until he was just like, dude, he just ends up basically like killing himself. It's hard to say that that's the ending because you don't know. But he basically kills himself, and his life insurance goes to the family that he denied the claim for. Because it was just serendipitous. Everything that happened in that movie just brought it all back.
Would Get Out be one? Would that be an important lesson?
I live Get Out. I lived that shit in the military.
Right.
When you talking about white, that's the fucking military.
Have you guys ever listened to it's obviously older episode of Tiger Belly when Jordan Peele came on? When Get Out was coming out? Did you guys ever see that?
I think I might have, but I haven't watched it recently. I went on a Tiger Belly binge at one point.
Oh, well, like when it came out, like when they were talking Get Out, when it was coming out. But this is just about the movie Get Out. But Bobby Lee was saying when he saw Get Out, he was like, when he heard the term, the sunken place, he was like, this is Jordan Peele. He was like, this is for sure. This is something he's talked about. Like while they were like smoking weed, when they were working for Mad TV.
The sunken place is such a crazy concept. It's culturally one of the craziest things that's ever been invented in a movie.
It changed everything.
You gave a name to something that we didn't have a name for it before. We would call them Uncle Tom's or Coons or any of that other shit. When you're like, but the sunken place is multi-racial. It crosses all kinds of boundaries. You don't have to be black to be in the sunken place.
The sunken place that I saw Get Out. This is and I've said this on the podcast before, but I would say Get Out is a big movie for me. Like not only for lessons, but just in general, just a big movie for me because that's the movie that changed. That's what got me into movies. That's what made me view movies differently. That was the first movie I've ever seen where I was like, you can make movies like this?
Is that Chevy?
Yeah, I smell that too. While I was talking, she's passed out right here on the floor.
That was her last breath.
That smelled like dog doo-doo.
But yeah, I remember
it's in my mouth.
I seen Get Out in theaters by myself, and I was shocked. I was like, "This is everything. This is and then the turn of the movie where you're like, "Oh shit, this is the slave auction moment." You're like, "Oh, this is getting dark." Like,
that was the first movie I said to myself. I was like, "White people will finally get what we've been trying to say." That's what that movie said to me. I was like, oh, white people will get it now. Now you can like see that's why I like movies. I think sometimes it just puts stuff in people's face and you're like, hey, you ever seen Get Out? That's how I feel. And they're like, oh, dude, that's fucked up.
Yeah, ever since that movie came out, the day I saw it in theaters, you have no choice as a colored person.
Jesus Christ.
you have no choice but to be like, I'm the only brown person in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that happens when I'm in Scottsdale.
Mm-hmm.
Where I talk to my mom.
I thought about this meme from fucking TikTok, and there was a black dude who was like, when you're black in Scottsdale, and it did the thing, and it was the green screen with the face, and he just looked down and was like, nigger.
but literally, I'll go up to my mom and I'm like, we're the only brown people here. And like, we gotta go. Like,
how does that not make you feel? Your mom doesn't. It is.
So she doesn't care. She don't give a fuck, which is cool, but it's like I just notice it. How can you not? They're staring at you. They're looking at you. They're like. And then they hear me talk and they're like, "Oh, you talk regular."
You talk
and your
regular.
Pants are actually up around your waist, so you're good.
Yeah, I'm not wearing dirty Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
And pants that are 4 times too big.
I think The Pursuit of Happiness was definitely one. I think it hit different watching it after you have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I bet
is just like it just gets you.
Pursuit of Happiness is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Of that moment of just like you have to just keep going.
Another question we got from the post was, I wanted to ask Rob this.
Who asked it?
I don't know who this is. Some random follower. Shout out to them for just knowing who we are.
Can you say it? Can you read their
Instagram name?
Yeah.
Is Scrapped Draper. I think you follow him.
That's my boy Draper.
Draper.
He's military. That's my boy. That's my homie.
He asked a question that says, "How would y'all spend the $40 billion bill passed for Ukrainian efforts on America?"
It's such a Draper ass sad question, yo. 40 billion? I would end world hunger. You gotta. I want to see when you take care of everybody's needs. What can humanity do after that? I think that's when you'll figure out like
$40 billion.
You could do that
God
10
damn
times
it, Chevy.
over. It's bad, dude.
Where are we at?
Feeding her. Chicken? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's it, guys. Bye. Thanks a lot, Chevy.
Wait.
Oh, 40 billion? Yeah, I would end world hunger. Hopefully we can start interplanetary travel.
And what about, to end this episode, what about Men coming out? Doesn't look like a sci-fi movie.
I haven't seen the preview. I don't even know what y'all are talking about, honestly. The entire time y'all been talking about, I've never known we were talking about this entire time.
Alex Garland has a new movie called Men.
No, but he hasn't seen the trailer.
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer. Like, I understand what it's about now.
Manda, let's talk.
Yeah.
I'll ask that to you. Men, what do you feel after watching Annihilation?
I really thought it was like a philosophical question. You were like, men. How do you think? We really need to check ourselves. We really need to watch how you talk to women.
We were just talking, or earlier today, I was like, men?
I feel like it's going to be like a scary, like, psychological.
As a woman.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the trailer?
Every woman's nightmare. Every woman's nightmare. There's always constantly a man, and you are constantly always in danger.
Tatiana, you want to hop in on this? No.
Like literally.
Or you're
everywhere.
not on camera. All right.
We went another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But you excited? You scared?
I think it'll be good because it's Alex Garland, so I'm sure there's like some type of like
the trailer. There was some
deeper
hints
meaning.
of like folklorish.
Yeah.
Philosophical. You know, the setting that wherever they're at is like looks almost like a graveyard.
It says English countryside, so yeah.
Yeah,
basically.
it looks like old townish, folklorish. Like it might.
There's dead bodies buried.
Boring.
Somebody
That's
else.
what it look like. Like don't nothing happen there. That's what it look like.
But yeah, I'm very excited because it doesn't look sci-fi.
Yeah, when they had like the view of like whatever figure, whatever was down the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then it started coming. I was like, bitch, you better get the fuck.
Yeah, I love the shot of like it's a silhouette of like the tree and it's the guy far away walking. I love just the way he looks.
Right.
I'm just like
Nightmares.
It looks the way he was standing and walking. It looked very off-putting. But I am excited because I want to see where he goes in this horror genre. Instead of it doesn't look too sci-fi unless there's like a sci-fi twist. But
No,
this looks like a straight up horror movie.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like someone posts about the movie. They're like, when they first teased the movie Men, directed by Alex Garland, they're like, "Ooh, a movie called Men sounds scary."
That's not the movie with. That's not the one with the girl from.
I'm thinking of Anythings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. That's her.
Okay, I have seen the previews to that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in Doctor Strange. I saw that.
They showed it.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good, right?
Yeah. Did y'all see that preview I sent today?
Yes, I did.
Did they show that? Don't worry, darling.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. I cannot wait. I want to see that movie.
Yeah, that looks like a Stepford Wives.
Oh.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh and Harry Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Styles, the man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I guess a more traditional type of horror movie. Also, like the first sentence of a woman goes on a solo vacation, like
You never seen
you're
Spit on My Grave?
dying.
Stupid ass.
Dumb.
You never seen Spit on
Dumb.
My
Yeah,
Grave?
every woman revenge movie is very good. Like I think there's a movie called Revenge on Shudder about that, and there I do
People
like
are dumb, you know.
It does show you that men suck, though.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, a woman can't take a vacation by herself in any movie because she always ends up getting
It always turns into a
murdered or
horror
raped
movie.
or something
Right,
like that.
stopped
Like, what the
in this
fuck?
instance.
Yeah.
Damn, that's why I be telling my sister, keep that blicky, dog. Stop fucking playing with these bitch ass niggas.
So yeah, that's Men coming out May 20th. Go see it in theaters because maybe I'll mention it in a like a review of it, or maybe on Patreon I'll have something to say about it. Me and Mendo will probably go see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited
And
because I know
Tatiana.
Tatiana just.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see it. Not in a movie theater. I might watch it with you, like. when I
Like
go
in the
on
living room
streaming
or some shit.
When you have four walls that you can see.
Yeah.
Right.
Ah,
And a
ah.
blanket,
When I-
security.
lock the
I'm
door.
already stressed in a movie theater and for other reasons.
For
So I'm
other
like, I can't
reasons.
play.
Right.
Every time they do the little preview and they're like, in case anything happens, it's like, oh, you mean in case there's a shooting?
Yeah.
Right.
There's the X's right there.
Someone Dark Knight Rises this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Strange,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah. So it's like I'm already.
Wait, did we say that on the where it's like if it's just the two of us in a movie theater and a shooter walks in and be like, different theater.
Like,
come
never
another
mind.
day.
Not enough people. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But I always thought about that. Like, what if
Like,
it's just
not
us
worth it.
two and they break in and they're like, I'll get the other theater.
Next.
But anyways, I'm super excited.
Yep.
It felt really cool watching the Alex Garland stuff. Definitely want to rewatch Dread.
I'm gonna go watch Ex Machina and finish watching Devs because that shit is a.
I gotta start Devs.
You got to.
Next week, what are we talking about? Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Dude.
Top
They showed an extended trailer today.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it?
I have to see Top Gun.
You have
We
to see
gotta
Top
see
Gun.
it.
I gotta see Top Gun. Dude.
I gotta see those
Because
stunts.
Tom Cruise is really in that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And we gotta see it in IMAX. It won't,
Yeah.
it won't
I
hit
got
the
Yeah.
same.
got to. And so I guess this week we just gotta watch the original Top Gun.
Mhm.
Original
Top
Top Gun.
Gun.
Fuck Russia.
Exactly.
Even though they just beat Mexico.
All right. That's it.